to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Hello and welcome. My name is Owen Thorne, and I'm so glad you've decided to spend a moment with me this evening. Here, at the edge of a peaceful spring night, you find yourself on the threshold of a dreamlike journey. You're about to enter a soft and tranquil world where blossoms float gently on the breeze, and the hush of old stone walls resonates with the murmurs of nature. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale calm. Exhale any tension, allowing it to drift away, leaving your body weightless and your mind open. As you relax, know that tonight's story will carry you to a serene meadow, nestled within the courtyard of an ancient monastery, where the gentle rhythms of spring and the hush of time-worn stone embrace you in quiet comfort. Notice the subtle easing of your brow, the release in your shoulders, and the warm, comforting light that seems to glow inside your heart. With each breath, let your eyelids soften and let each muscle unwind. There is no hurry here and nothing pressing to attend to. Let the gentle promise of rest begin to unfold around you. In a courtyard surrounded by tall, arching walls of weathered stone, an old monastery awaited the spring. The broad lawn behind its sturdy gates had gone through many seasons, from the silver hush of winter to the riotous green of summer. Yet spring carried its own hushed magic, and on one of these mild, sun-washed days, a figure stepped through the monastery's wooden doors, feeling a sense of wonder. Soft beams of morning light touched the cloisters, caressed the ancient arches, and fell upon the central courtyard. A few flowers in delicate shades of pink and white trembled in a faint breeze, their petals still dusted with the early dew of dawn. The meadow, tucked within the courtyard's protective stone walls, sloped ever so gently. Its grass was a mix of tender new blades and small clusters of wildflowers. Beyond this grassy expanse, a few gnarled trees stood, old guardians that had watched over the monastery for centuries. Their limbs stretched toward the open sky, offering shade and quiet conversation with the passing winds. The age of the stone, the hushed reverence of the cloister, and the bloom of spring all wove together, forming a tapestry of deep peace. At that moment, the figure in the courtyard paused, drawn to the gentle rustling of leaves and the flicker of sunlight dancing across the grass. He, or she, had come seeking a simple moment of rest. The day had been long, though not burdensome. Rather, it carried a calm sense of purpose. Walking the monastery halls, admiring the intricate frescoes, and noting how the hush of the interior gave the impression of stepping outside ordinary time. Now, in this courtyard meadow, a sense of homecoming seemed to take hold. Beneath the warmth of the sun, the figure stepped out onto the grass. Each footstep fell softly, stirring the sweet scent of dew-kissed blades. Deeper into the courtyard, Farther from the echoes of corridors, the meadow felt like an entirely separate realm, insulated from concerns, from urgency, even from passing thoughts. The day's last gentle hum of activity mingled with the trill of birdsong, forming a gentle lullaby beneath the open sky. At the meadow's heart, the figure found a comfortable spot to lie down. Slowly sinking onto the fragrant grass, there was a blissful sigh of relief, as though every muscle recognized this was a sacred and protective place. The meadow welcomed this visitor with a loving embrace, the soft, pliant ground shaping itself to cradle the body, offering a gentle support to the back, arms, and legs. Overhead, wisps of white cloud strolled lazily across the tranquil blue sky. Birds traced arcs of flight, their quiet calls echoing among the monastery towers. Somewhere in the distance, a light trickle of water emerged, perhaps from an old fountain near the courtyard's edge. Its steady drip, drip, drip fell in harmony with the beating of a restful heart. The sun's warmth was gentle upon the meadow, filtered by the shade of nearby ancient trees. Here and there, flecks of golden light shifted with the sway of branches. Time seemed as fluid as the breeze, drifting from moment to moment without hurry. The figure's eyelids grew heavy, lulled by the soft hush of living things in bloom. It was spring, after all, and the land was awakening from slumber. The hush of winter was gone, replaced by delicate green shoots pushing upward, slender stems bending to greet the day. Petals of pale pink scattered across the meadow's edges, as if laid out to celebrate the quiet joy of being alive. Now and then, a gentle breath of air carried the scent of fresh herbs grown in the monastery's hidden gardens. Lavender, sage, and a hint of rosemary seemed to mingle, creating a soothing perfume. It was subtle, light as a whisper, just enough to spark a fond memory of hearth and home. The old walls around the meadow were not confining. They seemed more like silent witnesses, providing shelter while respecting the vastness of the open sky. Far above, the soaring stone steeple, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain, pointed toward a realm of quiet reflection and infinite possibilities. Beyond the walls of stone, the world had its rhythms, busy roads, daily tasks, words spoken in haste or joy. But in this sanctified corner of green, only the present moment mattered. The figure, lying in the meadow, felt these currents of life, a gentle pulse of belonging and acceptance. Nothing was demanded, no urgent decisions or pressing thoughts. Birds hopped among the wildflowers, unafraid, content in the presence of a tranquil visitor. Their soft chirps provided a soundtrack of life renewing itself, of hope returning in every bud and bloom. As day progressed, the light in the sky shifted, taking on a richer hue. Shafts of sunlight slanted through the courtyard, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. That dust shimmered, each speck catching the golden glow, like tiny lanterns in a silent festival. A slight breeze rippled across the grass, and the figure felt a gentle caress across the skin, like a reminder of the simple elegance of being. Even the stones beneath the meadow had warmth stored in them, a lingering memory of days well lived and nights spent in watchful rest. After a time, there was a faint toll of a monastery bell. The sound reverberated through the courtyard, a low, sonorous note that spoke of centuries of stillness. Yet the bell did not stir the figure from the meadow. On the contrary, it seemed to blend seamlessly into the hush, resonating through the heart like a comforting hand laid gently on the chest. Birds paused at the tone, tilting their heads as though listening to an ancient voice. But soon they resumed their delicate calls, weaving their own music around the deep chime's echo. Time took on a dreamlike quality. Perhaps it was midday or late afternoon. The sun still offered a soft warmth, no longer harsh, but mellow and kind. Shadows stretched, forming slender patterns across the grass, living art that changed with each passing minute. The figure's breath, slow and steady, rose and fell in a gentle rhythm. The mind wandered through curious thoughts, fragments of memory, glimpses of hope, images of peaceful days. Each stray reflection, however, dissolved in the softness of the meadow, replaced by an even deeper sense of calm. If a moment of tension arose, it quickly faded, as though lulled back into quiet by the lullaby of the monastery walls. Occasionally, a passing monk, clothed in robes of soft brown, would stroll through the cloister walk, footsteps echoing lightly along the stone floor. From the meadow, it was almost as if each step arrived on a faint breeze. The monks themselves seemed to move in harmony with the season, not hurried or pressed. They embodied the same ancient rhythm as the walls around them, a gentle, purposeful pace that respected each leaf's tremble and each ripple of air. They would glance at the figure resting among the wildflowers, offering a silent acknowledgement before moving on. It was a quiet, unobtrusive kindness, fitting for a place so in tune with nature's grace. Occasionally, the figure felt a small stir of awareness, the body shifting slightly to find a more comfortable position, the arms adjusting to cradle the head in a gentle pillow of interlaced fingers. The sky above, ever watchful, carried the promise of clearer, more luminous hours. The air, though fresh, was not chilly. In fact, it embraced like a soft blanket. In this cradle of green, the ancient stones guarded centuries of secrets. Prayers whispered in the hush of dawn, footsteps trod by countless travellers seeking refuge, quiet reflections made under the boughs of blossoming trees. And now, that legacy of tranquility enveloped the figure with a nurturing sense of belonging. A faint hum could be heard in the distance, as though the day itself was singing. Perhaps it was bees, gently hovering around the clusters of blossoms at the edge of the meadow. Their low drone was a comforting sound, steady and purposeful, speaking of life's gentle tasks. The figure's eyelids grew heavier with each passing moment, lulled by the synergy of bees' hum, birdsong, and the distant whisper of water trickling into a carved stone basin. The hours that passed were not marked by clocks or worry. Instead, They were measured by the shifting warmth on the grass and the gentle flutter of a breeze catching the hems of the figure's clothing. Springtime carried a gentle energy, a quiet unfolding that asked nothing in return. Little shoots pushed up through the grass, their leaves tender and bright, thirsty for sunlight and dew. The figure, half dozing, half aware, sank into the meadow's embrace, feeling the hum of renewal all around. A nest of sparrows hidden in the rafters chirped in excitement, announcing new life and boundless possibility. In the monastery's orchard, blossoms weighed down the branches of fruit trees. Though invisible from the meadow, their perfume mingled on the air, sweet and delicate. It was a reminder of how interconnected everything could be. Stone, sky, blossoms, birds, and the gentle soul resting in their midst. The hours wore on, with the graceful inevitability of day turning into dusk. The sky, once a gentle blue, now carried streaks of soft pink and pale gold. The ancient walls appeared to glow as the sun's angle grew lower, the stones seeming alive with memories. The figure in the meadow opened their eyes in a dreamy, half-awake state, just enough to notice how the light had changed. Shadows lengthened, and with them came an even deeper hush, a softened hush that signaled the approach of evening. Still, there was no need to move, no need to do anything but breathe and rest. In time, the sun dipped behind the tallest tower, painting the courtyard in gentle twilight. The meadow's grass, now touched by the cool hush of evening, rustled faintly. A few of the wildflowers closed their petals, turning inward for the night. Overhead, tiny fragments of sky began to fade from gold to lavender, and then to the delicate hush of oncoming night. The figure closed their eyes again, listening to the subtle shift in the monastery's rhythm. Perhaps a distant door clicked softly as a monk passed inside, or maybe a soft scuff of sandals brushed the stone corridor. As twilight continued to drift across the land, the birds that had filled the day with cheerful calls found quieter perches. Their songs became softer, turning into gentle lullabies among the high rafters. Now and then a last bright note would echo, then slip into silence. In the meadow's hush, a calm and comforting presence filled the air. The centuries of quiet devotion within these walls held vigil, a grand tapestry of watchful peace that extended through the deepening shades of dusk. The figure, still resting on the grass, felt the subtle shift into a realm of near sleep, where thoughts drifted dreamlike, and the slow beat of a contented heart was the only measure of time. Soft footfalls approached, though far enough away not to intrude. A monk lit a small lantern near the cloister walk, its gentle flame dancing like a distant star. But for the resting soul in the meadow, the awareness of that flame was faint, a mere suggestion of the monastery's evening rituals. The hush was so complete that each flicker could almost be heard, a tiny crackle as the wick glowed. The wind, gentler now, carried the faint fragrance of evening blooms, honeysuckle perhaps, or the sweet fragrance of night-blooming jasmine cultivated in a corner of the grounds. Another breath in, and the figure felt a wave of calm that softened every last bit of tension. Gradually, night arrived. The sky turned a deep, velvety blue. High above, the first stars blinked into life, tiny sparks against the quiet vastness. The ancient monastery walls looked even more protective under the starlight, guardians of peace and memory. The meadow, too, changed character in the darkness. The grass seemed to shimmer in silver tones, dew gathering on each blade. The wildflowers, closed for the evening, rested in gentle anticipation of dawn. A hush enveloped everything, a hush that cradled the spirit and invited surrender to the tender arms of sleep. In the courtyard, the figure's breathing grew slower still, drifting in that sweet space where dream and reality intertwine. Perhaps thoughts of earlier times in the day would float to the surface, or images of a gentle morning might appear, only to melt away. There was no rush to cling to them. They simply came and went, like the drifting clouds of afternoon or the circling flight of birds overhead. An occasional rustle of leaves or the soft scrape of a branch against stone was enough to remind the figure of how alive and comforting the night could be. Here, in this ancient place, centuries of pilgrims and peaceful souls had done just as this figure was doing, surrendering to the quiet hush, letting the rhythms of nature and the monastery's calm fill their hearts. It was easy to imagine them, travelers who found solace in these walls, coming to rest in a gentle meadow and feel the earth's support beneath them. The figure felt connected to each unknown visitor, joined by the universal need for peace, for a moment of stillness where life's burdens could be gently set down. Even as the bell tolled softly again in the distance, its deep reverberations soothed rather than startled. It was a lullaby of stone and metal, bridging centuries with a single, comforting note. If the night's air held a hint of chill, it was countered by the warmth in the heart, stirred by the abiding serenity that settled like a gentle cloak. In this timeless courtyard, the figure had everything needed for rest: the hush of evening, the caress of soft grass, the watchful presence of old walls, and the friendly glimmer of night sky. Day's concerns had dissolved, carried away on the mild wind that whispered among the leaves. At some point, the figure stirred slightly, just enough to notice a crescent moon peering over the monastery's spire. Its silver glow rippled along the stones and touched the meadow with faint light. Each blade of grass caught a drop of moonlight, shimmering like miniature mirrors. The hush was profound, broken only by the faint hum of nighttime insects that had begun their quiet chorus. Their collective song was like a gentle wave washing over the courtyard. It rose and fell, merging with the hush of night so seamlessly that one could hardly separate the two. At length, the figure's breathing found an even deeper rhythm, a silent testament to the sweet pull of dreams. Thoughts wandered into images of soft meadows, ancient halls, warm sunbeams, and starlit skies, all woven into a tapestry that lulled the heart toward rest. In this place of stillness, each passing moment became a gift of ease. No tensions remained to disturb the mind. The gentle pulse of nature was the only anchor, and it guided the figure's spirit into serene depths of awareness. There was no need for watchfulness or caution, for every part of the scene whispered, "You are safe, you are held, rest and be at peace." And so the moments flowed into hours, though each minute felt timeless, suspended in the hush of a spring night. The soft grass cushioned every limb, the mild breeze kissed the cheeks, and the hush that radiated from the very stones suggested that all was well and always would be. The figure slept, or nearly so, lulled into a dreamlike lull by the monastery's gentle presence. Eventually, an even deeper calm enveloped the courtyard. This was the lull between twilight and true night, that special hour when the world holds its breath. The figure's heartbeat echoed a slow and measured cadence, in sync with the quiet living pulse of the meadow. Shadows gently embraced every corner of the courtyard. The glowing lanterns in the cloisters flickered, their light dancing across cool stones, weaving gentle patterns that vanished into the dark. It was a final hush, a settling into the soft arms of slumber. Birds were silent now, and even the breeze seemed to respect the profound stillness. Now, in these final moments of wakeful awareness, there was no striving, no agenda, only the gentle acceptance of rest. The old monastery stood sentinel, a timeless companion whose walls whispered reassurance across centuries of nights just like this one. Whatever had passed in the day, whatever might come tomorrow, it all gently dissolved in the sweet hush that wrapped the courtyard meadow in a soft, enveloping glow. Dreams hovered close, gentle and inviting, like petals drifting on a moonlit pond. Breathe in, breathe out. A slow wave of drowsiness covered the figure, comforting and welcome. Every muscle settled into place, as though guided by a gentle hand, every thought quieted by the nurturing hush. The monastery courtyard offered its silent benediction, an invitation to drift deeper into rest than any worry or fear could follow. In this final hush, it was easy, effortless, to let go and surrender to the restoring power of sleep. Gradually, the figure felt the edges of awareness slip away, the lullaby of spring's night coaxing the last vestige of wakefulness into a soft, floating dream. The ancient stones, the meadows green, the hush of blossoms, and the silent watch of the moon all blended into a serene presence, a night sky temple of rest and renewal. Nothing was out of place here. All was aligned for peace. Within this sanctuary, body and mind found a unity of calm. And so, as the final breath of consciousness eased away, the figure lay cradled by the earth, gently drifting in the realm of pure, revitalizing slumber. This was a healing sleep, the kind that nourishes the soul and whispers to the heart that it is safe to dream, safe to let go, safe to belong to the hush of the world. Now, dear traveller of these words, allow yourself to drift into that same soft cradle of rest. The meadow is open, the spring breeze is gentle, and the ancient stones stand guard. Let each breath sink deeper, carrying you toward the warm darkness where dreams blossom like quiet flowers. No need to hold on to any thought or concern. Instead, let the peace of this moment envelop you. Feel your body so gentle and calm, mind free and clear, spirit lifted by the hush of the monastery's courtyard. In this final space, even words begin to fade. All that remains is the comforting hush, the lull of nature in springtime, and a profound sense of quiet belonging. May you find the stillness you've been seeking in these timeless walls, lulled by the whisper of blossoming trees and the soft hum of distant bells. The meadow invites you to lie back, to float in a dream without boundary or weight. Good night, dear traveller. Sleep well, carried on the gentle wings of serenity, under moonlight and within the watchful arms of this ancient sanctuary. Surrender to rest. May the hush of the old monastery, the perfume of its flowers, and the soft hum of spring cradle you through the night, guiding you to the sweetest dreams and the deepest peace. Good night. Sleep well.